Bless the Lord, O my soul, bless it.
If you had any idea how ugly witchcraft is, or how incredibly evil demons are, you wouldn't even think about that. We shouldn't be frightened of Satan, but we shouldn't underestimate him and how evil these things can be.
Hi, thanks for tuning in to another video on Armor of God. As always, let me start the video by saying thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us, and hopefully you'll learn something useful for your own spiritual warfare.
There's four causes of demonic possession, right? Pure divine permission. God allows it. You sit back. Why would God allow it? Well, God might allow it for a lot of reasons, you know. There was a family in Italy. I can't remember the name of the family, but they were all fallen away from the church, all atheists, and the little kid got possessed. And they tried doctors, they tried drugs, they tried all these things. And that's one of the key things about if you need an exorcism is nothing works, right? No amount of therapy, no amount of medicine, nothing works. And so they finally ended up going to an exorcist. The boy was cured pretty quickly, and the whole family and extended family converted. So that would be an example, okay, of like pure divine permission. Second, subjection to a curse. If curses are real, man. I saw cursed people when I was doing missionary work in Africa. They're called night runners, crazy stuff. If a night runner sees you, a night runner is basically somebody who runs he's a message deliverer between two witch doctors. And if you see one, they curse you and you can't speak. And this, I mean, the exorcists I was with in Africa went around, there were people all over the place. They couldn't speak because they had seen these people. And through the power of exorcism, they were able to speak. Third one, proximity to evil places or persons. You know, one under here that I really want to touch on is pornography. I think people think porn is just this fun little, you know, I don't know what people think it is, but they think it's not really dangerous. First of all, it's fueled by sex slaves and the sex trafficking industry. But also it's very, very, it's like extremely, it's so dark that what you're watching is a portal, if you will, a doorway into the demonic. I remember I was reading an article of a porn actress that had got out of the industry, and her line was so great. She said, the porn industry is the playpen of the devil. So that would be enough, I think. But, you know, you can just judge for yourself. But also, here's another one, too, like, you know, gangs. That's, you know, I was reading a whole thing on MS-13. MS-13 actually uses Ouija boards to find people they're going to kill. If you remember, what's his name? Father Karapi. Father Karapi, you know, when he was in his drug dealing days and everything, he tells a story about he went down to the port and he was waiting for the shipment to come in. And as he's standing there, this guy comes up dressed in a black cassock, you know, the dress looking thing that we priests wear. It's called a cassock, for the record, little catechesis there. And he's standing there and he looks like a priest, but he doesn't look like a priest. And so Father Karapi looks over and he's like, what, did you bring a priest to bless the cocaine? And the guy looks at him and he's like, no, I brought a priest to curse the cocaine. So when you're doing drugs, you're not alone all the time. So, you know, something to remember there. And then the fourth one is grave hardening to sin. Grave hardening to sin would, I think, probably the most biblical example of that would be Judas, right? Judas really believed he couldn't be forgiven. And when you believe you can't be forgiven, game over, man. That's you know, when Jesus says the only sin that can't be forgiven is a sin against the Holy Spirit, that's a sin against the Holy Spirit, believing you can't be forgiven.
Now to begin with, I'll start our discussion today by sharing this video. Be warned though, it's really stupid. Don't do this, but in a way I think it shows the actual reality of the world we're living in today.
I sold my soul to the devil, I played with Ouija boards, I did everything I could possibly do to get myself haunted or possessed by a demon. I did this to find out whether or not demons and spirits actually exist. I would live stream myself going to abandoned hospitals with Ouija boards, and everyone who was on my live stream could see me do all the rituals and nothing happened. Then like witches on Witchtok would call me out saying that they could have me cursed or whatever, and I invited them to do so. I'd say, let's do it live. I'll send you whatever materials you need from me. If you need my shirt, some of my sweat, blood, whatever you want, I'll send it and put a curse on me and let's see if this stuff is true. And every single one of them backed out when they realized that I wasn't afraid, I wasn't intimidated by them, their little spells, and I was going to expose them for being frauds, which they are.
And I'd like to share something disturbing with all of you. Did you know that there's a hashtag on TikTok that has amassed more than 20 billion views? And do you know what that is? Witchtok. It's little wonder that witchcraft is on the rise and younger generations are taking a renewed interest in astrology, horoscopes, and the occult. In the past 5 years, there's been a marked increase for those searching on Google for crystal healing, and the subculture of people who identify as witches is also on the rise.
I was really confused about in the beginning too, but you do not need to be a Wiccan to be a witch. There is a huge misconception that in order to be a witch, you have to be a Wiccan. Wicca is heavily based in magic, and it is a faith that strongly relies on it, or well, goes around it really. But you can be of any faith and any background and still practice magic.
Whether someone's possessed or not, because I've had several possessed people say to me, if I die and I'm still possessed, will I go to hell? The answer to that is not really. The demons, possession, what do they possess? Do they possess your soul? No. They possess your free will? No. They possess your body, and they can infect your mind. But salvation is in the spirit, in the soul, in the will, you know. So as a matter of fact, there have been saints who have been possessed as a trial. And Gemma, there was a point where Gemma Galgani looked like she was possessed. So it's shockingly, sometimes being possessed can be a grace, because you learn the truth. Yeah. When someone's liberated after coming to us, they're in the front pews of the church because they learned about the truth about God, about Jesus, about the Blessed Mother, and about the saints, and about Satan. So, you know, being possessed actually can be a tough and difficult, but a real grace.
There are currently over 1,677 billion users on TikTok as of July 2023, out of which a little more than billion are its monthly active users. Now, to put this into perspective, in 2020, the total views for the hashtag Witchtok had over 6 million views, and fast forward 3 years later, it's now more than 20 billion views.
Well, it's the whole thing of the young people. A lot of them are not even baptized. They're not catechized. And they really don't know. They're essentially living a pagan life. And so if you don't do holy things, you're going to do something. And now they're into witchcraft and magic and those sorts of things. And they don't realize how dangerous it is. And preaching it from the pulpit's important, but that's not where they're at. You say, where are these young people? They're on TikTok. They're on social media.
And if someone takes a trip into one of these popular hashtags related to witchcraft, and you'll encounter a thriving community that live streams tarot readings and spell tutorials and posts engaging educational videos on crystals, candles, plants, and their take on the study of magic. And do you know the thing that I find more disturbing? If you take a closer look, a lot of what these videos are actually teaching people how to curse someone they hate, to make someone fall in love with them, to take revenge, to perform hex, and to bring in more money into their lives. I said this in my recent video. Scripture warns us that witchcraft is one of the most common means used by the devil to bind men to himself and to dehumanize them.
At one point in one of the sessions, the demons are getting weaker, and so they're responding to questions. And of course, we limit our questions to those things which are appropriate to our exorcism. And so I asked, I said, when are you leaving? What are your names and how did you get here? And at one point, the demons kind of start clamming up. And I said, what's up here? And basically they said, well, we don't want to say anything more because the other ones will beat us up. And as many times, demons will want to leave. And they'll say, I say, why aren't you leaving? And they'll say, well, Lucifer won't let me. And basically, they'll torture them, beat them up. So, but it just makes sense that in hell, of course, there's no love, there's no fraternity. It is all fear and domination and power. And there's a huge hierarchy among angels and demons, of course. It's a very strict hierarchy. And the higher angels will threaten and beat up the demons, threaten and beat the lower demons. Not angels, of course, but demons do that. So it is just something I learned. And it has happened several times during sessions.
I won't be showing any of the so-called tutorials shared by these witches on TikTok, but I'll share you the type of messages these witches are saying out loud on the platform. Bear in mind, she has over 3.4 million followers on TikTok.
thought that Christianity would be considered paganism if it weren't a part of the top 3 religions, because that's quite literally what it means to be pagan. And the only reason y'all are a part of the top 3 religions is because y'all murdered the competition and y'all got mad like I said something wrong. But most of y'all don't even know where the demonization of witchcraft came from. It's not even a part of the original text of the Bible. What? It was added at a later date, like most things were, for the sake of control. Colonizers started exploring places like the mystery schools and different tribes, noticing that they had different practices and abilities and powers that they did not have. And how do you destabilize power? You demonize any power that you can't control. Sounds a lot like these here United States, one nation under God, until you ask whose God y'all are talking about. Now we have beef. So after showing y'all the crystals were never demonized in the Bible yesterday, y'all were fighting for your lives talking about, but the way witches use them is a sin. God told Aaron to put crystals in his breastplate, the armor of God for the sake of protection. We too wear the armor of God for the sake of protection. Witches believe that the healing comes from the crystals, and we know that they're just tools and God has all the healing powers. We too believe that the Creator created the crystals to carry the healing properties we believe that they contain. See how we're both saying the same thing? You just think your shit sounds better? Before you speak on something that you do not understand, I highly recommend that you shut the up first.
Now, I'm sure a lot of you who are subscribed to this channel are parents, and we all love our kids. So I'm not telling you what you should do, but I really want you to know that you should be careful with what your kids are watching on their TikTok. TikTok isn't the first place that modern-day witches have congregated online, but the way the platform is constructed have made it an ideal digital home for those interested in the occult. As a platform, TikTok's content revolves around 15-second videos that are narrated or paired with music. And Selby, who has 283,000 TikTok followers, says this makes the app feel more laid back and accessible than Instagram. She said, "On TikTok, it's quick tips and things that anyone can do. It also humanizes witches. There's a lot of negative stigma surrounding witchcraft and witches, but with TikTok, I can show the more personal side of myself, like being a mother." Another user, who's the author of Witchery, Embrace the Witch Within, and has close to 80,000 followers, says TikTok's appeal comes from the positivity of the community compared to other platforms. "I use TikTok as a very positive feed to spread love and spirituality in a way that connects with everyone rather than a select few. The community is very open to other people's beliefs, and so far, I've had a very positive experience."
We've got a number of people who are spiritually attuned people and spiritually sensitive people, and they have certain preternatural gifts, spiritual gifts, which we need for our ministry. And the Lord provides these people for us, and they sense demons and different kinds. We have one person who actually sees them, and that's very unusual. She really sees them, and she's really it's a mystical grace. So I'm having lunch with this person, and the food's served, and she doesn't move. And I said, "What's the problem?" She said, "Are you going to bless the food?" And I said, I could tell by looking at her face, I know her very well. I said, "Something wrong with the food?" She says, "Yeah." I said, "Are some demons on the food?" She says, "Yes." Fine. So I bless the food, and it's gone. So anyway, and then dessert comes out, and again, no movement. I say, "Hey, what's up? Demons on the dessert?" She goes, "Yes." But this time I said to her, "I want you to bless the food." No, I can't. I said, I insist. I want you to bless the food. She did. Demons left. The moral of this, there's a couple of things to learn from that. First of all, what's going on back in that kitchen, that restaurant? People are cursing the food. There's a lot more people cursing things than we realize. So they're probably cursing the food. And my second takeaway was when you go out to eat at a restaurant, take your mystic with you.
And the late Father Gabriele Amorth wrote this in his book. Witch doctors believe that they own good and evil. Mediums and spiritualists invoke powerful spirits or the souls of the dead without realizing that they have given themselves body and soul to demonic powers. Even if it is not immediately evident, these powerful spirits always use their minions for destructive purposes. When man is separated from God, he is poor and unhappy. He is unable to understand the meaning of life, and even less the meaning of hardships, suffering, and death. He longs for the happiness that the world holds out as a lure: wealth, power, health, love, pleasure, and admiration. It seems as though the devil is saying, "If you, then, will worship me, it shall all be yours." Luke 4, verse 6-7.
All the exorcists I know are buried in cases. I think there's a couple of reasons. One is that as people stop practicing the Christian faith, they start doing something, and a lot of them are into Ouija boards and witchcraft and magic and all sorts of things. And that's going to get you into spiritual trouble. Remember that case of the 70s, the movie, The Exorcist, was based on a young lad, 13 years old, who was using a Ouija board. And for months, he became possessed. So as young people start doing this, they start having problems. You know, there's a help. If you've got these kind of problems, you know, come to the church, come to your priests, and you can find relief and healing. And we've seen some wonderful healings.
It's like people, when you go to a horror movie, you don't walk out of there sad. You walk out of there like, ah, like I don't want to go to bed, you know, like you're just adrenaline pumped. That's not evil, man. I have been in exorcisms. I've been face to face with the devil. It is not exciting. It is the worst thing you can possibly imagine. If evil is a privation of goodness or a lacking of goodness, then like the more evil you get, the less good you have, and the more lonely, the more despairing, the more angry, the more sadness, like everything that's terrible is what evil is. It's not fun. That's why I think horror movies are terrible for kids to go watch, because they think evil's fun. And then they have stuff in there like Ouija boards, and then the spirit came, and they're like, and it gets them this curiosity to be like, oh, maybe we should play with a Ouija board. Stupid stuff.
Well, that's it for the video this time. I hope through this video I did just about enough to show what platforms like TikTok can do to our kids if we don't really pay attention to what they're browsing and watching on it. And I'm speaking as a parent to all parents, especially who are watching this video. Anyway, that's it for this time. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. As we are doing this full time and you want to support our works, I left a link to our PayPal donation down in the description box below. And I want to say thank you so much to all of you who have contributed. Thank you so much. Well then, until the next video, stay safe, stay healthy, and God bless you.
Evil is sadness. Like the more you get into it, the more despair you get. And what the devil wants more than anything, and this is a beautiful line in Nefarious when he says, he's like, we want you alone. We want you to feel the loneliness of being detached from God. And the way we do that is through sin. And the further you get into sin, the lonelier you get, the more despair you get. End game, man. That's the devil's whole game. He does not give two craps about hiding in your closet and pretending to be the boogeyman to scare you at night. He could give, that's why like horror movies are so dumb. Or like hiding under your bed and he's going to reach up and grab. Devil doesn't do that. He doesn't care about that. What he cares about is every choice you make. Every choice you make is turning you into a saint or a demon. And it's up to you. You call the shots.